The orbital scrapyard hung above the planet like a rusted crown, its labyrinth of debris and forgotten machines casting long shadows over the world below. Here, in the endless maze of twisted metal and shattered dreams, Yoren made his living. He was nimble, clever, and quiet, with sharp eyes that missed nothing and hands that could coax life from even the most stubborn relics. His home was a battered cargo pod wedged between a collapsed shuttle and a mountain of obsolete android parts, barely shielded from the vacuum by a patchwork of makeshift repairs. Yoren's days began before the station's artificial dawn, when the air still tasted of ozone and the only sounds were the distant groans of settling wreckage. He moved through the scrapyard with practiced ease, boots crunching over glass and polymer shards, always alert for the telltale glint of something valuable. Most days the pickings were slim. Stripped circuit boards, cracked display panels, the occasional power cell with a few cycles left. But today, something different caught his eye. It was a faint, pulsing light, barely visible beneath a mound of scorched insulation and melted hull plating. Yoren crouched, brushing aside the debris with gloved hands, and uncovered the source. A stasis pod, its surface pitted and scarred but still intact. The control panel flickered weakly, displaying symbols he didn't recognize. Curiosity warred with caution. Stasis pods sometimes contained dangerous cargo or worse, the dying remnants of someone's failed escape. But Yoren had never been able to resist a mystery. He scanned the pod for traps, then pried open the emergency release with a battered multi-tool. The hatch hissed, releasing a puff of freezing vapor, and inside he saw her. She was unlike anyone Yoren had ever seen. Tall, with skin the color of burnished copper and hair that shimmered like liquid silver, she lay curled in the cramped space, her breathing shallow and ragged. Strange markings, tattoos or maybe circuitry, ran along her arms and neck, glowing faintly in the dim light. Her clothes were torn and blood-stained, and one leg was twisted at an unnatural angle. Yoren's heart hammered in his chest. He glanced around. No one else was nearby. He knew he should call for help, report the find to the overseer, but something in the woman's expression stopped him. Even unconscious, she looked fierce, defiant, as if daring the universe to finish what it had started. He hesitated only a moment, then reached in and gently lifted her out. She was heavier than she looked, her body radiating heat despite the chill of the pod. Yoren slung her arm over his shoulder and half carried, half dragged her back to his shelter, moving quickly through the maze of junk. Every shadow seemed to hide a watcher, every echo a threat. If the overseer's enforcers saw him with an alien, there would be questions, dangerous ones. Inside his pod, Yoren laid her on his makeshift cot and set to work. He patched her wounds as best he could, using scavenged medkits and improvised splints. Her breathing steadied, but she didn't wake. He studied her face, wondering who she was, what had brought her to this graveyard of lost things. As the hours passed, Yoren kept watch, listening for the heavy tread of patrol boots or the whine of surveillance drones. Instead, the only sound was the woman's labored breathing and the distant hum of the scrapyard's life support systems. When she finally stirred, it was sudden and violent. Her eyes snapped open, brilliant green flecked with gold, and she lashed out, catching Yoren's wrist in a grip like iron. "Where am I?" Her voice was rough, the words heavily accented but clear. Yoren didn't flinch. "Safe, or as safe as anyone gets around here. You were hurt. I found you in the trash." She released him, wariness etched in every line of her face. "Why help me?" Yoren shrugged, forcing a smile. "Seemed like the right thing to do. Besides, you looked like you could use a friend." She studied him, suspicion warring with exhaustion. "My name is Nayla," she said at last, her voice softening slightly. "I owe you a debt." Yoren shook his head. "No debts, just rest. We'll figure things out when you're stronger." For the first time, Nayla seemed to relax, her eyes drifting closed. Yoren sat beside her, watching the shadows dance across the walls, and wondered what kind of trouble he'd just invited into his life. The next day, Yoren woke to find Nayla sitting up, her gaze sharp and alert. She moved stiffly, wincing as she tested her injured leg. "You should stay off that," Yoren advised, offering her a battered mug of recycled water. Nayla accepted it, her fingers brushing his as she took the cup. "Thank you," she murmured, the words awkward but sincere. They spent the day in uneasy companionship. Yoren scavenged for supplies, always glancing over his shoulder, while Nayla explored the cramped confines of his home, examining every piece of tech with a mixture of fascination and disdain. "Your machines are primitive," she observed, tracing a finger over the exposed wiring of his solar charger. Yoren grinned. "They get the job done, most of the time." Nayla's lips twitched, almost a smile. "Where I come from, even children would laugh at such devices." "Where do you come from?" Yoren asked, unable to hide his curiosity. Nayla's expression darkened. "Far from here. Too far." She fell silent, staring at the floor. Yoren didn't press. Instead, he busied himself with repairs, the familiar rhythm soothing his nerves. As night fell, he cooked a meager meal of protein paste and dried greens, offering half to Nayla. She sniffed it, wrinkling her nose, but ate without complaint. Afterward, she leaned back, studying Yoren with those piercing eyes. "You risked much to help me," she said quietly. "Why?" Yoren hesitated, searching for words. "Everyone deserves a second chance, even if the universe tries to throw them away." Nayla considered this, then nodded. "Perhaps you are right." They sat in silence, the only sound the distant creak of metal settling. Outside, the scrapyard stretched endlessly, a graveyard for dreams. But inside Yoren's tiny pod, something new was taking root, a fragile trust born of desperation and kindness. As the days passed, Nayla's strength returned. She began to ask questions, probing Yoren about the scrapyard, its rules, and its dangers. In return, she shared fragments of her own story, a world of gleaming spires and endless skies, a life of duty and betrayal. Yoren listened, captivated. He realized he'd never met anyone like her, so fierce, so proud, yet so wounded. He wanted to help her, not just because it was right, but because she made him believe there was more to life than survival. One evening, as they watched the stars flicker through a crack in the hull, Nayla turned to Yoren. "You could leave this place," she said softly. "Come with me when I'm strong enough." Yoren laughed, surprised by the longing in his own voice. "And go where?" "Anywhere. Everywhere. The universe is vast and full of wonders." Yoren looked at her, at the hope shining in her eyes, and for the first time in years, he dared to dream. Outside, the scrapyard remained unchanged, a sea of rust and ruin, but inside, in the warmth of shared stories and quiet companionship, Yoren and Nayla began to build something new. Not just survival, but the promise of adventure, the promise of belonging. And somewhere, deep in the shadows, unseen eyes watched them, and the first threads of fate began to weave a tapestry that would change both their lives forever. The orbital scrapyard's endless maze of wreckage was never truly silent. In the days since Yoren had rescued Nayla, every creak and distant clang seemed sharper, as if the station itself was holding its breath. Nayla's wounds were healing, but her eyes remained wary, her posture tense. Yoren sensed she was waiting for something, perhaps for her strength to return, or perhaps for the past to catch up with her. On the fourth day, as Yoren scavenged for parts near the old reactor core, he heard a familiar, tinny voice echo from beneath a pile of battered drone chassis. "Yoren, you're late. Again. I was beginning to calculate the odds of your demise." Yoren grinned, kneeling to uncover the source. "Good to see you too, Helix." Helix was a drone unlike any other on the yard, a sentient AI cobbled together from mismatched parts and powered by a personality chip with an apparent fondness for sarcasm. His spherical body hovered a few feet off the ground, a patchwork of plating and exposed wiring, with a single glowing optic that flickered in time with his speech. "I see you found another stray," Helix observed, his optic swiveling toward Nayla, who stood a few paces back, arms crossed. "She's not a stray," Yoren replied. "She's a guest." Helix emitted a sound suspiciously like a snort. "Of course. and I'm the Emperor of the Galactic Core. Nayla regarded the drone with suspicion. What is it? That, Yoren said, is Helix. He's complicated, but he can help. Helix bobbed in the air, preening. I'm indispensable, actually. Yoren led them back to his shelter, where Nayla settled onto the cot, watching Helix warily. The drone, for his part, seemed fascinated by her alien features. Yoren tells me you're not from around here, Helix said. Care to elaborate? Nayla hesitated, then glanced at Yoren. He nodded encouragement. I was an envoy, she said quietly, sent to negotiate peace between my people and another world. But someone betrayed me. My ship was sabotaged. I barely escaped in the pod. Helix's optic dimmed. And they just left you for dead? Nayla nodded. My kind do not tolerate failure or mercy. Yoren frowned. That's not right. You tried to make peace. Peace is weakness where I come from, Nayla replied bitterly. I was a fool to believe otherwise. Helix hovered closer. You're not a fool. You're a survivor. And that means you have options. Nayla looked at him, surprise flickering across her face. Options? Sure, Helix said. As long as you're breathing, you can choose your own path. The Overseer doesn't need to know you're here. Yoren nodded. But we have to be careful. The Overseer's enforcers have been sniffing around. And your wounds. They're not healing like they should. Nayla flexed her injured leg, wincing. My physiology is different. I need certain compounds to recover. Things I doubt you have here. Helix's optic brightened. I might know where to find what you need, but it won't be easy. Yoren leaned forward. Tell us. The central depot, Helix said. They keep medical supplies there, some from alien ships, but it's heavily guarded. Nayla's eyes narrowed. Then we'll take them. Yoren hesitated. It's dangerous. If we're caught, we won't be, Nayla said, her voice hardening. I won't die here. Not like this. Helix, word thoughtfully. I can map a route, but we'll need a distraction. Yoren nodded. I'll handle that. Helix, you get us in. Nayla, you're with me. The plan was simple, in theory. At shift change, when the depot's guards were distracted, Yoren would trigger a power surge in the maintenance grid. Helix would disable the security cams and Nayla would slip inside to grab the supplies. As the hour approached, tension coiled in Yoren's gut. He watched Nayla check the makeshift sling on her leg, her movements precise despite the pain. You don't have to do this, he said quietly. She looked at him, her expression unreadable. I do. But not alone. The words warmed him more than he expected. At the depot's edge, Helix zipped ahead, his optic flickering as he tapped into the security feed. Cameras down in 3, 2. Now. Yoren darted forward, prying open a maintenance hatch and crawling inside. Nayla followed, silent as a shadow. The corridor beyond was dimly lit, the hum of machinery masking their footsteps. They reached the supply room without incident. Nayla scanned the shelves, her eyes settling on a vial of iridescent fluid. This, she whispered, grabbing it. Yoren stuffed it into his pack, then froze as voices echoed from the hall. Someone's coming. Helix's voice crackled in their earpieces. Guards incoming, 2 minutes. Nayla glanced at Yoren. Go. I'll cover you. No, Yoren said firmly. We go together. They slipped out the back, hearts pounding, as alarms began to blare. Helix met them at the exit, spinning anxiously. This way. They ran, ducking through alleys of twisted metal until they reached the safety of Yoren's shelter. Nayla collapsed onto the cot, clutching the vial. You did it, Yoren said, relief flooding him. She smiled, small but genuine. We did it. As Nayla injected the compound, color returned to her cheeks. Her breathing steadied and the pain in her eyes faded. Thank you, she said softly. Yoren sat beside her, exhaustion mingling with triumph. Any time. Helix hovered nearby, humming contentedly. Not bad, for a bunch of misfits. For the first time since her arrival, Nayla laughed, a sound bright and unexpected. That night, as the scrapyard's lights flickered outside, Yoren, Nayla, and Helix shared a meal. Their alliance was uneasy, their future uncertain, but for now they had hope. And in the shadows, the overseers and forcers found the empty depot, their anger simmering. The hunt had begun, but so had something else. In the heart of the scrapyard, 3 outcasts had found each other, and together they would change everything. The scrapyard's artificial twilight bled into the narrow alleys as Yoren, Nayla, and Helix huddled in their battered shelter, the stolen medical compound already working to heal Nayla's wounds. Outside, the overseers and forcers swept the maze of debris, searching for the thieves who had dared to breach the depot. Tension crackled in the air, but for the first time since her arrival, Nayla's eyes shone with vitality. As Yoren patched a hole in the shelter's wall, a faint tapping echoed from the far side of the junk heap. Helix's optic flickered in alarm. Someone's coming. Not a patrol. Too quiet. Yoren's heart thudded. Friend or foe? Before Helix could answer, a figure slipped from the shadows. A tall, wiry man with a grease-stained flight jacket and a haunted look. He kept one hand on a battered sidearm, the other raised in a gesture of peace. Easy, Yoren called, stepping between the stranger and Nayla. The man stopped, scanning the trio with wary eyes. Name's Lirak. I'm not here to cause trouble. Just looking for a place to lay low. Helix hovered closer, scanning Lirak's face. You're the pilot who crashed the Overseer's shuttle last cycle. Lirak's lips twisted in a bitter smile. Guilty. Figured if I stuck around, I'd end up in the incinerator. Mind if I join you? Yoren glanced at Nayla, who nodded once. We could use another set of hands, she said quietly. With Lirak's arrival, the group's dynamic shifted. He brought stories of the Overseer's cruelty and the growing unrest among the scrapyard's workers. He also brought skills. He could hotwire anything with an engine, and his knowledge of the yard's hidden tunnels proved invaluable. As days passed, the 4 became a team. Nayla's strength returned, her alien senses sharp and restless. Yoren found himself drawn to her, their conversations growing deeper as they shared meals and memories. Helix, ever sardonic, kept spirits high with his dry wit, while Lirak's cynicism was slowly tempered by the group's fragile hope. One evening, as the group plotted their next move, Nayla's gaze grew distant. They'll never stop hunting. Me, she murmured. Not while I live. Lirak leaned forward. Then we need leverage. Something to make them back off. Helix's optic brightened. The Overseer's vault. It's rumored to hold data on every illicit deal he's made. If we get that, we have bargaining power. Yoren frowned. The vault's locked down tighter than a starship's core. How do we get in? Lirak grinned. Leave that to me. The plan was bold. Under cover of darkness, Lirak would infiltrate the Overseer's command center, using his old access codes to bypass security. Helix would jam the surveillance feeds while Yoren and Nayla created a diversion at the power grid. As the night of the heist arrived, nerves ran high. Yoren and Nayla slipped through the shadows, planting charges on the main relay. At the signal, they triggered a blackout, plunging the yard into chaos. Lirak moved like a ghost, slipping past guards and into the vault. Helix's voice guided him through the maze of corridors, disabling alarms with a few well-timed hacks. Inside the vault, Lirak found more than data. He uncovered evidence of a conspiracy that reached far beyond the scrapyard. The Overseer had been trading in alien prisoners, selling them to the highest bidder. Nayla's betrayal was part of a larger scheme to destabilize her people's government. As Lirak transmitted the files to Helix, alarms blared. They're onto us, Helix warned. Yoren and Nayla raced to the rendezvous, pursued by enforcers. Nayla fought with a grace and ferocity that left Yoren breathless, her every move a testament to her warrior heritage. They reached the shelter just as Lirak burst in, clutching a data chip. Got it. But they're right behind me. Helix zipped to the door, sealing it with a blast of his micro-welder. That won't hold them for long. Yoren turned to Nayla, desperation in his eyes. What now? Nayla's gaze was resolute. We fight. Together. The enforcers stormed the shelter, weapons drawn. Nayla and Yoren stood side by side, fending them off with improvised weapons and raw determination. Lirac covered their flank, his piloting reflexes translating into deadly aim. In the chaos, Helix was snatched by one of the Overseer's drones, dragged away into the night. Yoren shouted, but Nayla caught his arm. We'll get him back, I promise. As the dust settled, the group regrouped, battered but unbroken. They had the Overseer's secrets and a new mission. We're not just running anymore, Nayla said, her voice fierce. We're taking the fight to them. Yoren nodded, his fear replaced by something fiercer. Hope. Together they set out into the scrapyard's labyrinth, determined to rescue Helix and bring down the Overseer's empire of rust. And as they vanished, into the shadows the first sparks of rebellion flickered in the darkness, stars beneath the rust ready to ignite. The scrapyard was never truly dark. Even at the cycle's end, when the station's battered lights flickered and the power grid groaned, the stars above and the faint bioluminescence of alien fungi growing in the cracks gave the world a ghostly glow. Yoren, Nayla, Lirac, and the battered drone Helix had become more than just survivors. They were a team, a found family forged in adversity. But now, with Helix snatched by the Overseer's drones and the weight of the Overseer's secrets in their hands, they faced their greatest trial. As they regrouped in a forgotten service tunnel, Lirac patched a burn on his arm while Nayla paced, her eyes burning with determination. We can't leave Helix, she said, her voice raw. He risked everything for us. Yoren nodded, his jaw set. The Overseer's expecting us to run. Let's do the opposite. We hit him where it hurts, Lirac agreed. Expose his operation, free the prisoners, and get our friend back. As they plotted, a new figure emerged from the shadows. A tall, cloaked courier with a weathered face and eyes that missed nothing. He moved with the effortless confidence of someone who'd seen every corner of the galaxy and survived. Names. Voss, he said, keeping his hands visible. Word travels fast on the yard. I hear you've got something the Overseer wants, and something he fears. Nayla eyed him warily. And what do you want? Safe passage off this heap for all of us, Voss replied. I have a ship stashed in the outer docks, but we'll need to get past the Overseer's blockade. Yoren exchanged a look with Lyric. We can't leave until we get Helix. Voss nodded. Then let's make a deal. I help you get your friend and you help me get off this rock. I know the Overseer's routines, his weaknesses. Together we can pull this off. The plan came together quickly. Voss would create a diversion at the main gate, drawing the enforcers away. Lirac would hack the security grid, giving Yoren and Nayla a window to slip into the holding cells and rescue Helix. Once reunited, they'd upload the Overseer's secrets to every comm terminal on the yard, sparking a rebellion among the oppressed workers. Then, in the chaos, they'd make their escape. The night of the assault, the scrapyard trembled with tension. Voss's diversion worked perfectly. Explosions rocked the gate, alarms wailed, and enforcers scrambled to contain the chaos. Lirac's fingers danced over the stolen access pad, disabling cameras and unlocking doors. Yoren and Nayla moved like shadows through the corridors, hearts pounding. They found Helix in a dim cell, his optic flickering weakly. About time, the drone quipped, though relief was clear in his tone. Let's get you out of here, Yoren whispered, helping Helix hover upright. As they made their way back, the Overseer himself appeared, a towering figure in gleaming armor flanked by bounty hunters and political agents from Nayla's world. His voice boomed through the corridor. Give me the alien and the data, and I'll let the rest of you live. Nayla stepped forward, her chin high. You betrayed my people. You profited from their pain. I won't let you hurt anyone else. The Overseer sneered. You're alone. Exile. No one cares for a fallen royal. But he was wrong. Yoren, Larak, Helix, and Voss stood at Nayla's side, weapons ready. "She's not alone," Yoren said. "Not anymore." The battle was fierce. Nayla fought with all the skill and strength of her heritage, Yoren and Larak covering her flanks, Voss picking off enemies with uncanny precision, and Helix hacking the Overseer's systems to turn security bots against their masters. In the end, it was Nayla who faced the Overseer one last time, disarming him and holding him at her mercy. The Overseer spat blood, defiant. "Do it. Prove you're as ruthless as they say." Nayla hesitated, then lowered her weapon. "No, I am not what you made me. I choose mercy." She turned away, leaving the Overseer to the justice of the workers who now flooded the corridors, emboldened by the truth broadcast across the yard. With the Overseer's empire crumbling, the group raced to the docks. Voss's ship, a battered but sturdy freighter, waited, engines primed. As they lifted off, the scrapyard fell behind them, a riot of lights and voices rising in rebellion. Aboard the ship, Nayla stood at the viewport, watching the stars wheel past. Yoren joined her, silent for a moment. "Where to now?" he asked. Nayla smiled, a true unguarded smile. "Anywhere. Everywhere. The universe is ours if we want it." Larak, Helix, and Voss gathered in the cockpit, laughter and hope filling the air. For the first time, they weren't outcasts or fugitives. They were a crew, a family. Nayla turned to Yoren, her voice soft. "You treated me like royalty. When all I felt was broken, you gave me back my dignity, my hope." Yoren squeezed her hand. "And you showed me there's more to life than surviving. Together we can be anything." As the ship soared into the unknown, their journey was just beginning. They had escaped the garbage of their pasts, and together they would build something new, something worthy of galactic royalty. And so, among the stars, the forgotten became unforgettable. Their story, once buried beneath rust and ruin, now blazed like a beacon across the cosmos, a coronation of the forgotten and the birth of a legend. The end.